Hello, everyone. Crystal Score here for Sports Illustrated All 49ers. You can find me on Twitter at 49ersChrissy. I am so excited to be back. I know it's been a minute since I've been doing this whole thing and talking to people and, writing my articles and all that for SI, but I'm back and I'm back with a vengeance, just like my boy George Kittle. Today, I'm interviewing the big kahuna of all interviews, Mr. T.O. himself, Terrell Owens. And I'm going to let him in right now. He's in the waiting room. How's it going?
Oh, I'm good. Just chilling. Just got in.
First off, how old were you when you first started playing football, and what got you into the sport?
I was in junior high school. So what is that, around like 14 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
13, 14. But I was just on the team, really. It was just a way to me to, I guess, be active or what have you. I think that was kind of like my first, I guess, stage or phase of, I guess, playing a sport. So, I was on the football team, junior high, but I didn't really actually play. I mean, I was really skinny, scrawny, what have you. So I didn't really know much about football, really.
Mm-hmm. And so when you did start first playing it, what drew you to the sport?
Just being active, just wanting to do something. I guess when you're in junior high, you go obviously high school, you've been around peers or what have you. I don't really know. I guess sitting here, honestly, I don't think anyone has ever asked me that. I don't really know what drew me. I don't really know what drew me to the sport, other than, like I said, just I guess from a standpoint of just wanting to play football. I don't really, like I said, I didn't even really have an ideal position that I wanted to play. I mean, I was on the defensive side of the ball, if I can remember.
Mm-hmm. And then when you were playing football and whatnot, and then you got drafted to the 49ers, just take me back to that day back in 1996. How did it feel to be the 89th pick overall?
I was in Chattanooga. I was at the home of one of our defensive coaches. I think he coached linebackers, Coach Corey Edmonds. And so we were at his apartment, and leading up to the draft, I mean, I had done some individual workouts, and prior to that, I mean, I played. I was on the basketball team as well, so I played football and basketball. So typically after the football season, I transitioned straight into basketball. So during that time period of practicing or what have you, and then obviously when I found out that I had an opportunity to possibly play in the NFL, then, teams would come in, based on where I was on their draft board or what have you. If there was an interest, they came in, worked me out, took me through different drills. And so obviously I was playing basketball at the time. So my basketball coach at the time, Mac McCarthy, I mean, he allowed me, take those days to do that. And so I played in the Senior Bowl as well. Didn't really play a lot, but that was where a lot of the GMs and scouts, they were there to see the players, kind of up close and in person. And so I think that's where my draft stock rose. So again, how I performed in some of those workouts, individual workouts, I was probably projected to go late second round if everything went well, but obviously that wasn't the case. But like I said, playing at a pretty small school compared to the guys that were in the draft at that time, that were drafted before me, being drafted 89th pick again for me, it was just an opportunity. I didn't really think too much about the number or where I was. I just wanted to get an opportunity. But considering there was probably 11 to 12 guys that got drafted before me, like I said, and considering where I am now statistically, I think I didn't do too bad for myself. But, yeah, I mean, you think about Keyshawn Johnson, Eddie Kennison, I think Marvin Harrison, Alex Van Dyke, Bobby England, Amani Toomer. These are some of the guys that were in our draft class. Muhsin Muhammad. Like I said, there was a number of guys in that draft class. It was kind of considered the receivers draft. Kind of like, all these quarterbacks are kind of headlining a lot of the drafts now, but back in '96, the receivers that were coming out at that particular time, they were pretty good.
And then what did it mean to you to be a 49er?
I didn't really know much about the 49ers other than, like I said, knowing that they were in the National Football League. Growing up in Alabama, I didn't really pay attention to too much professional football. I was born and raised in Alabama, so it was Auburn or Alabama.
Yeah.
So it was a Roll Tide or War Eagle. So that was about the extent of football knowledge that I had. So it said beyond, I guess, beyond high school. So I didn't really, like I said, I wasn't really familiar too much with the 49ers. Obviously, they was a franchise at that time. I think it won five Super Bowl championships or what have you. '94, I think, was the last one that they won. And I knew, I think my junior year, that was when I first got a glimpse of and got I guess, knew who Jerry Rice was. Got a glimpse of who he was just watching a Monday night game. Walking into the dorm room, some guys were watching them play. I think it may have been the San Diego Chargers or somebody on Monday night. And so that's where I kind of got my first glimpse of Jerry Rice. And so obviously, him being one of the superstars with the Niners, along with Steve Young and Joe Montana, I was very fortunate to obviously have the opportunity to go to the Niners and play. But yeah, that was it.
And who did you look up most to on the team at the time?
Nobody really. I mean, I was just in awe. I was just a kid out of UT Chattanooga. They got an opportunity that was drafted late third round. Like I said, obviously I was drafted on my potential based on my height, and you think about around that time, when you look at the receivers on that roster of the San Francisco 49ers, they were big, they were tall, they were long, rangy, or what have you. So I fit that description. So I was pretty much considered a prototypical type of athlete that kind of fit the mold of what they were looking for. And so, like I said, going into that situation, I didn't know much about the 49ers at all, other than, like I said, I knew Jerry Rice went there, I knew Steve Young was a quarterback. But yeah, I didn't really follow it that much. But obviously we became good friends, Jerry and I. And I learned a lot from him, just watching him, watching film, watching J.J. Stokes, learning as much as I could from the different quarterbacks that were on the roster at that time, from Elvis Gerbach, a number of other guys, watching Brent Jones run routes. These are guys, like, as I said, just, once I got familiar with the 49ers and knew who they were, got to watch them a little bit, you start to watch, some of the guys that made up the Niners on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball.
Awesome. And what about the team dynamic? Can you speak a little bit on that?
I mean, when you think about offensively, I mean, the West Coast offense was predicated on, precision and timing. And obviously, I think defensively, those guys were, wanted to be defensively sound, move around fast. You think about the defensive side of the ball. You think of Tim McDonald, Merton Hanks, Tyrone Drakeford, all these guys that made up the defensive secondary. Yeah, I mean, Ken Norton at linebacker, Gary Plummer. You had Bryant Young, Dana Stubblefield, all these guys. Like I said, they had the DNA, for a championship. And as I got to play and learn in the NFL, I got to learn and to know that defense wins championships. And prior to me getting there, again, like I said, I think their last championship was '94, '95.
Yeah.
And I came in a year after that. And so I was hoping that I could have, gotten the championship, just by, just, again, contributing however I could, especially as a rookie. You want to kind of make your mark playing special teams, and obviously you want to develop and grow your skills, have some growth as far as your skill set is concerned. And so I just did whatever I could, and mostly my first 2 or 3 years, but 2 years probably was mostly on special teams, and played sparingly here and there. But the dynamic was, like I said, if you think about, Jerry Rice and Steve Young, those are our leaders on offense. And again, it was one of those things where, you wanted to kind of put points on the board and prevent guys from scoring. So we had I think the players to do it. We just didn't make it happen.
For all the teams that you were a part of, which one kind of stands out to you as one of the favorites that you got to be a part of?
Probably Philly and Dallas, and I say that in respect of me being able to be utilized to the best of my abilities. Yeah, although I did some great things in San Francisco, I honestly felt like my talents weren't used, in its entirety. I thought that there was a lot more that I could do, but as I grew older and started to understand, obviously the capabilities of different individuals, and especially as it related to my skill set and how I was able to be successful, I started to kind of see the difference in quarterback and styles of play. Mm-hmm. And so that's what enabled me to do a lot of things in Philly that I wasn't able to do in San Francisco. And not to say that Jeff wasn't a great quarterback, is that he played a different style of quarterback, and our offense was predicated and catered around his skill set. And so that wasn't a lot of drop back passes. Everything was quick, which was part of the West Coast offense. But when you think about, being a prototypical pocket passer, he was a bit different than Steve Young in a sense. I think he was a bit grittier. He was a grittier right-hand version of Steve Young, not the pocket passer or not the deep threat of a pocket passer as a Steve Young or a Joe Montana. But when you look what I did with Donovan going there, that I was able to take the top off defenses. We could start on our 10, 20, 30, whatever, and go up top, throw 60, 70-yard bombs. Like I said, that's not a knock at Jeff. We just basically, in San Francisco, we basically catered to his strengths, and a lot of that was rollouts. And when things broke down, plays broke down, that was where he was at his best. And that was kind of ideally where I was at my best too, was really when plays broke down, is for me to get in his vision based on where I was on the football field. Everybody on the football field, when a play broke down and he got out of the pocket, we had some assignments of where we needed to be, according to where he was. And so I think a lot of my plays, they stemmed from that, but a lot of it too was because of the playmaking ability once I got my hands on the ball. And so I love the West Coast offense. I played in I played on a couple of teams that wasn't so West Coast friendly, with some touches of West Coast in it. But when you think about how and what made the 49ers so successful was because of what they instilled or installed with that West Coast offense. Like I said, timing, precision, route running, and things of that nature. And so I kind of basically added another element to really kind of a more physical element to what they already had there with Jerry and JJ and John Taylor prior to that. Mike Sherrard, these guys, like I said, Jerry was good, run after catch, quick passes, get the ball in his hands. There were slants, there was posts. But when I came on the scene, I think I added another element, physical element to that, because like I said, I was big, I was strong, and I got faster as I played in the league. As the years, year by year, those are some of the things that I tried to work on. But I did, like I said, transitioning from San Francisco to Philly. and I think Andy Reid had a lot to do with that as well, having a very knowledgeable, and I think talented and talent-minded coach to put players in the best position to succeed. So he knew, he had seen me play for 8 years. I played against him. And then now to add and complement to what they already had over there, we were pretty dynamic when you talk about, our offensive firepower.
And so you were kind of talking just a little bit about how, meshing with certain quarterbacks like Garcia and whatnot. Looking at the 49ers right now from a wide receiver's perspective, do you have any advice for somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo kind of going through the same motions?
Just put the ball in their hands. I know, like I said, being a quarterback, there's a lot on their plate, having to read defenses, pre-snap reading, sometimes as the play is about to be snapped, the ball is about to be snapped, the defense can move, they can rotate, they can disguise a lot of things. But I think the most important thing for him is obviously protection. I think we're well aware of what he can do if he has protection. And like I said, that's a big responsibility on those linemen and the success of the offense and the season. So I think, and that's what's so sometimes so misleading about a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo and how they produce or how they play, how well they play. A lot of it is predicated on how those guys up front protect them. That's why Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl championships, 6 Super Bowl rings. A lot of that is predicated on his protection. That's how Peyton Manning was able to sustain and have the career that he did. Peyton Manning, he's not a Michael Vick. He's not a Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? So you think about Drew Brees. He's the same way. Of course, those plays are going to break down where they have to sometimes get out of the pocket, escape, move up, move left, move right. But majority of the success of a quarterback comes with the protection of those big guys up front. But Jimmy Garoppolo, he's very, very capable. I think once he can get groom those guys as receivers, that core, and he can trust those guys too to be what they're supposed to be. And that's a big responsibility for those receivers too. They have a tall task in themselves to be able to put themselves in a position to make the plays, and when those plays come, actually make those plays. It'll take a lot of pressure off the quarterback, and then he'll have that confidence, no matter what, to throw the ball to whomever. That's what I ideally wanted to do, and that's why I practiced so hard when I was with the Niners, because I saw, how valuable plays were and players were to the quarterback. You think about, you're going to have a go-to guy. You're going to have a number 1 guy. You're going to have a number 2 guy on the team. But when I played and as I was grooming myself and the coaches were grooming me, I didn't know at that time to possibly be the next Jerry Rice. Again, I just wanted to create – they wanted to put me on the field and have opportunities for me. And then when those opportunities came, then I tried to make the most and the best of those opportunities. So it's always that – it's a little saying is like, make the plays count, don't count the plays. And so for me, being, like I said, somewhat of a complimentary receiver, I wasn't that until probably my 3rd or 4th season with Jerry, because JJ was like the number 2. And then you think about Brent Jones playing tight end or what have you. That makeup and of what we had is the same as what Jimmy G has and George Kittle. The running backs that he has, and Mostert, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Now, is it
McKinnon, yeah, Jet.
Jet McKinnon. They have some dynamic. Excuse me, sorry for messing up their name.
No.
They have some good running backs that in precision, like I said, they can create a 1-2 punch. And I think if those guys can kind of just understand and adopt their role, and again, it's almost like the running back has been phased out of the game, but they have to go in. Okay, when I go in, I need to keep the momentum going. I need to keep that pace. And I know it's hard being on the sideline, going in and out, rotating or what have you. But those are the cards that they're being dealt right now. So you have to adjust accordingly. It's not like 10, 15 years ago where, running back were, they were toting the ball, 20, 25, 30 times a game. The league has become more pass fluent, if you will. And now, like I said, Mike, I guess to answer your question, this is long-winded, but yeah, Jimmy G has all the pieces. Those guys as receivers, I hope they watch this, they hear this. They have to really work hard to be that valuable option until there's a number one established receiver on that team. And you're seeing they're doing it by committee right now. They have Bourne, I think, Debo Samuels, all these guys. Like I said, it's like a different receiver every week. And obviously injuries have played a big part in that. But again, with injuries being had, that creates opportunities for the next person. So, I tell my son all the time, he's at FAU. He's not starting. He's not in the rotation or what have you. But I told him just keep plugging away. And when his opportunity comes, be prepared for that opportunity because you never know when you're going to get it. Like I said, I never knew that I was going to be the next heir apparent to Jerry Rice, in which I really wasn't. They were looking for J.J. Stokes to be that guy. But just with my mindset and my work ethic, me trying in every day in practice to really become a better receiver at route running, reading defenses and things of that nature, and just paying a little attention to details. And I even watched and learned from other receivers that were on the team because every receiver has a unique innate ability to be a receiver and do what they do. I never, throughout the course of my career, I never felt like that I knew it all. Even in my last year, I always found ways of thought that there was a way for me to get better.
Amazing. And honestly, that's like in anything in life.
What is that a pen?
Yeah. He had a pen in his sock, and he pulled it out and autographed the ball.
So you are also known for a lot of your legendary touchdown celebrations. Out of every one of your
sellers, really?
Yeah, I know. Out of all your sellers, which one was the most meaningful to you?
I don't know if meaningful, I guess, is the right word. All of them meant a lot to me because I had fun with them. That was kind of the creativity behind a lot of my celebrations, that I just wanted to have fun with the game. And then again, it was one of those times where from high school to college, I really wasn't an integral part of a team's success. So when I started to score or if I made a big play, that was really an opportunity for my mom to see me play, to see me make a play, and again, to score touchdowns and then celebrate afterwards. That was kind of like my reward. It was kind of like my dessert. You know what I mean? So other than that, I just tried to have fun with the game. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people misunderstood who I was and really mistaken really my touchdown celebrations for being selfish and me being just a I person or what have you, or me just a me person. So but other than that, like I said, I think where we are now with the game, a lot of people look at me and basically said that I can't say I'm a pioneer, but it's sort of like a trendsetter for where we are with touchdown celebrations or what have you. And there was a stint where the league, they banned celebrations, and they saw, the attendance, the fan participation, all that go down, and you saw fans start to gripe about it because they started to call it the no fun league. But again, that's what football is, a form of entertainment, and that's how I looked at it. Although we have a job to do, we're entertaining, millions and millions and thousands of people there at the stadium that come to watch us play.
Amazing. And so looking at the game today, are there any receivers that kind of remind you of yourself?
Well, they have this guy up in Seattle, DK Metcalf, that everybody's raving about, and rightfully so. But prior to that, I think everybody, especially when I think it was Super Bowl 3 years ago, when Julio Jones was going on a tear, and obviously they lost the game to the Patriots. But you look at what he was doing in that game; he was unstoppable, and that's what's so crazy about a game, and how coaches again try to, I guess, manage or coach the game. When you have a hot hand, you keep going to them. It's just like basketball. It's just like a pitcher, in baseball. When you got somebody that's got it, that's have it going, you have to put the ball in their hands. And I think they did themselves a disservice, speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, to have someone like Julio, especially with his catch radius, the thing that he can do once he gets his hands on the ball. But yeah, those two guys are, who ideally remind me, and I'm often reminded that I remind, everybody else of myself. So you talk about, especially DK Metcalf, he's big, he's strong, very muscular. And again, he's about to be a problem. He's starting to be a problem already for a lot of defensive backs. And so I can't imagine being the defensive back, having to prepare for this guy, because he's not even big, physical, and strong. I mean, he's fast. And so if I'm Pete Carroll, I'm finding ways. I'm looking up the West Coast offense. I'm looking at film of how, when I played, how I was involved in the San Francisco offense, in the Philly offense, and how I was able to be productive. Again, he's second year. Of course, they're going to bring him along, obviously slowly, but they're going to need this guy down the stretch, and he's going to be a go-to guy, and they're going to be somebody. He's going to be somebody that they can call on. It's almost like in basketball, when you need a bucket, who do you go to? You know what I mean? And he's going to be that guy, and he's definitely developing and putting some stuff on tape and developing a resume for himself to be that guy, to be a playmaker, go-to player, even when he's going to get the ball.
Yeah, I completely agree. And who has been your biggest inspiration, both on and off the football field?
I'll probably say my grandmother. I mean, she passed in 2012, but she raised me. There was a lot of things that she spoke of, especially with what we're going through now as a country. When you talk about racial inequality, racial injustice, and things of that nature. My grandmother, she grew up in the segregation era, where she, like I said, they had to go to different bathrooms, by color. And then, like I said, she talked about how her parents were raised picking cotton, things of that nature. She was my motivation. She was my inspiration. She was diagnosed with dementia in '96, which was my rookie year. And obviously, I think people that are familiar with that disease, it progressively gets worse. And so I was able to kind of educate myself about Alzheimer's and really kind of cope and deal with that. And so, playing in San Francisco and living in the off season in Atlanta. And then, obviously as her condition got worse, we had to, put her into an assisted living home. And so I got to only see her maybe once or twice a year, if that. But I just made the moments count that I spent with her. Actually said, just educating myself about Alzheimer's and what it does, not only to it really not to the individual themselves, but I think the caregivers. I think that's where a lot of the stress lies, especially with my mom and my sister. Everybody knew that, we started to see the changes and how it started to affect her. So, between my grandmother and my mom, like I said, they were my biggest, and just my family in general, because I never, like I said, I don't know if I told you, but I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level. And so, obviously to have an opportunity to play, be drafted by the Niners in the third round, 89th pick. And like I said, nobody had ever done anything like that in my household, per se. And, there was my defensive coach in high school. He played in the CFL, I think a short stint in the league, maybe for a little bit, but that was about it. And I think there was one guy in our hometown that played for the Houston Oilers. I can't think of his name, but maybe a year, but that was about it. So for me to come out of Alexander City, Alabama, and go to UT Chattanooga, and for me to represent my hometown, represent Chattanooga, it was extra special. Like I said, my mind, I was representing a lot of people, but at the forefront, I'm representing my family.
I love that. My grandpa passed away from Alzheimer's too, so I know how it is to go through it. It's not fun, but very important to, educate people and everything. And I love everything that you've been doing in the community. So thank you for that. That's all the questions that I have for you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, man. I mean, I have a podcast that I do. We release it episodes every Tuesday. It's called Get Your Popcorn Ready with T.O. and Hatch. Obviously, you can find it wherever you get podcasts, or you can download the Himalaya app. But we've had a number of great guests on, so definitely you want to check it out. Yeah, pump that. I got a clothing line coming out here pretty soon called Prototype 81, and really kind of what got me into that. I think I mentioned it briefly, just on how I guess scouts looked at me as a prototypical type of receiver, based on some of my physical attributes. So how I came up with the name is because that kept ringing in my head, is that I was looked at as a prototypical type of receiver. So I came up with the word, not came up with the word. So I took prototype out of prototypical and came up with my name, and then I came up a little bit more creative, with the word, because you can't spell prototype without T-O.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I love that.
And then again, yeah. And so based on how I got to the league, and I guess I can say I'm somewhat self-made with a lot of help along the way with a lot of coaches. But when you think about desire, dedication, and discipline, that's how I got to the Hall of Fame, when I reflected back on my career. And if you look up the word prototype, the definition is the basis on which something is made or formed. And so I really feel that I kind of made myself into the receiver that I became. I was formed into the receiver that I became. And obviously, like I said, I had a lot of help with a lot of individual coaches, namely, especially my first couple of years in San Francisco, and Larry Kirksey and George Stewart, and had some great receiver coaches at a couple of the other stops as well. But that was kind of like how I came up creatively with the name for my clothing line. It's called Prototype 81, and hopefully we're looking to launch, get it out before the Christmas holidays. So definitely look out for that. And for people that want to know what kind of type of clothing, it's athleisure. It'll be for men and women. So if you think of Hugo Boss meets kind of Lululemon in a sense, with a little creativity. If you think about my career and how, I guess, I'm flamboyant, how different, unique that I was on the football field, that's what, my clothing line, that's what it will embody. Just being different, but having a little flair, a little taste of fashion in there. So definitely look out for that. And then I got like a wine coming out as well called 81 Vino. Hopefully within the next couple of months, that'll be out as well. So I got a lot of irons in the fire, trying to create a lot of opportunities for myself. And the National Football League, it has afforded me to a lot of those opportunities to do so. Just looking to, like I said, do some stuff possibly in the CBD space or nutritional supplement space as well. So like I said, I'm just keeping my options open and looking for more opportunities as well, and doing some speaking engagements too. I've done a few Zoom speaking engagements. I have some coming up next year that will be in person, but obviously with the COVID situation, if that kind of hinders it, then we'll be doing it via Zoom. But like I said, just trying to keep myself active, keep myself healthy. I don't know when you're going to release this, but also we have something coming up as well, just to, I guess, contribute to, some of what's going on with the racism and things of that nature. I have a race coming up with a couple of individuals. The title of it it's called Erase Racism, and it's a play on the word erase. So it's going to be spelled ERACE, Erase Racism. So I'm racing Justin Gatlin, And that's we're going to race. He's going to give me a head start about 9 yards because he's an Olympic sprinter.
Yeah.
But just to, I guess, give you, I guess, the story behind that, we had Tyreek Hill on our show, on our podcast show, and I raced him right before camp. And so he basically said he could beat me. He's one of the fastest in the National Football League. So he said he could give me a head start, give me like 10 steps, and he could beat me. So obviously the world knows now that didn't happen. And so we had Justin Gatlin on, who's an Olympic sprinter, medalist. I had him on, and we got to talking about that. We got to talking about really, what's going on in the world right now with racism. And we're going to donate. It's going to be live streamed. So, and part of the proceeds are going to go to an organization to really combat or, be an advocate for what the world is trying to accomplish now with that. And so that'll be done. And Brandon Marshall, who played receiver, we have a race for we're doing the 60 meters, and he called me out. And we're racing for $100,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I definitely want to get that out there if you definitely want to get that. So November 21st, we don't know the time. We don't know the time yet or the location, but we know it will be in Florida somewhere. We just got to figure out the time and all those particulars. But it will be November 21st in Florida. We're working out all the other particulars. But yeah, we're gonna try to do some creative stuff. Justin Gatlin has called, some of his other Olympic friends that are, they're training as well, and some other guys that are not, that haven't run, that can still run. We're trying to create a 4x100 relay where we race against them. So, but it's going to be unfair. But to make it fair, we're going to do like 2 track guys and 2 football guys. Yeah. So Paul Pratt, who played with the Detroit Lions, he's going to be one of the guys on the relay team. Marquise Goodwin, I think he's committed.
Oh, amazing.
Exactly. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So we want to do this one, and then we want to do another one shortly after the new year. So hopefully everything goes well, and hopefully we can, get beyond this COVID-19 situation. But yeah, we're going to still do it regardless, like I said, with the safety protocols in place. So yeah, definitely want to put that out there as well.
Perfect. We'll keep a lookout for it on all your social media. I'm sure you'll put that out there and everything too, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tio. It was awesome to talk to you.
Oh yeah, no worries. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your time in Vegas. Take care.
All right.